स्थालिम्यस्य वने गत्वा गृहान् आध्यायतो निशि त्रेतायां सम्प्रवृत्तायां मनसि त्रय्यवर्तत. Thalim, the woman Agnisthali, Nyasya, immediately giving up. Pane, in the forest. Gatva, on returning. Grihan, at home. Adhyayataha, began to meditate. Nishi, the whole night. Tretayam, when the Treta millennium. Sampravittayam, was just on the point of beginning. Manasi, in his mind. Trayi, the principles of the three Vedas. Avartata, became revealed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhai Charana Arvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. King Pururava then left Agnisthali in the forest and returned home, where he meditated all night upon Urvashi. In the course of his meditation, the Treta millennium began, and therefore the principles of the three Vedas, including the process of performing yajna to fulfill fruitive activities, appeared within his heart. Can you repeat the translation? King Pururava then left Agnisthali in the forest and returned home, where he meditated all night upon Urvashi. In the course of his meditation, the Treta millennium began, and therefore the principles of the three Vedas, including the process of performing yajna to fulfill fruitive activities, appeared within his heart. Purport. It is said, Tretayam yajato makaihi. In Treta Yuga, if one performed yajnas, he would get the results of those yajnas. By performing Vishnu yajna, specifically, one could even achieve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, yajna is intended to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Pururava was meditating upon Urvashi, the Treta Yuga began, and therefore the Vedic yajnas were revealed in his heart. But Pururava was a materialistic man, especially interested in enjoying the senses. Yajnas for enjoying of the senses are called Karmakandiya yajnas. Therefore, he decided to perform Karmakandiya yajnas to fulfill his lusty desires. In other words, Karmakandiya yajnas are meant for sensuous persons, whereas yajna should actually be performed to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To please the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Kali Yuga, the Sankirtana Yajna is recommended. Yagnai Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedasaha. Only those who are very intelligent take to Sankirtana Yajna to fulfill all their desires, material and spiritual. Whereas those who are lusty for sense enjoyment perform Karma Kandiya Yajnas. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. and translation to Canto 9, Chapter 14, Text 43 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So here we see when Urvashi left Pururava and went back to the Gandharva Loka, King Pururava was very disturbed, and then he wanted to be associated with Urvashi always. Therefore, taking compassion upon Pururava, Urvashi suggested him that he can attain his association, her association, every year once, and in that way he can beget a heroic son. So Pururava was partly happy because when the thought of uniting with Urvashi came to his mind, he was very happy. But when he had to separate from Urvashi, he became very unhappy. So then Urvashi, understanding his mind, she suggested, if you worship the Gandharvas, then probably they will be able to deliver me to you again. And then he worshipped the Gandharvas and satisfied them with prayers. And these Gandharvas, instead of delivering Urvashi, they delivered another Apsara by name Agnisthali, who looked exactly like Urvashi. But very soon, Pururava realized actually this is not Urvashi. This is another girl of the heavenly planet, but not his wife Urvashi. She was very unhappy. So therefore, in this verse it is described Sthalim Nyasya Vane Gatva. Sthalim referring to this woman Agnisthali. Nyasya, he gave up the company of Agnisthali, Vane in the forest, and Gatva Grihan, he returned to his home. So what did he do after returning home? Did he develop saturation from his lusty desires, or did he develop frustration towards his lusty desires? No. In fact, after returning home, Adhyayata Nishi, all through the night, Nishi, Adhyayataha, he was meditating on Urvashi. And as he was meditating on Urvashi, Tretayam Sampravrittayam, Tretayam, referring to Treta Yuga. Sampravrittayam refers to just began at the point of the beginning of the Treta Yuga. So Tretayam Sampravrittayam. As he was thinking of Urvashi all through the night, the Treta Yuga began. What does Treta Yuga indicate? It indicates the performance of yagyas, either for satisfying Vishnu or for satisfying one's material desires. So, Manasi Trai Avartata, Treta Yuga began, and the principles of the three Vedas, namely Rig, Yajur, and Atharva, including the process of performing yajna to fulfill fruitive activities, Manasi Avartata, appeared within his heart. heart or mind. So, in one sense, you can say, fortunately, because of Pururava's frustration, fortunately, Treta Yuga appeared wherein he could take advantage of the fruitive activities of the Karmakanda portion of the Vedas in order to fulfill his material desire of enjoying with Urvashi. So the Vedas has broadly three divisions as per the uh, regular understanding: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda. So Vyasadeva had basically prepared these three divisions, keeping in mind all kinds of people, from a common man to a serious spiritualist. So, as far as a common man is concerned, as he is not very much inclined to spiritual life or very much uh, trained up about the importance of spiritual life, somehow even to bring those people who are materialistic, to bring them also into the ambit of spiritual life, Srila Vyasadeva has introduced this Karma Kanda portion wherein one can fulfill his material desires by performing Vedic sacrifices. So, in that way, you will also fulfill your material desire, and at the same time, you will also get the benefit of a minimal purification. And purification always means, in the Vedic context, one step towards developing interest in spiritual life, developing spiritual knowledge. Purification is always intended towards enlightenment, towards giving up sense gratification. But because one cannot give up immediately, so gradually, Vyasdev has prepared a whole road map so that they will gradually give up sense gratification. That was Vyasadev's overall plan. So therefore, this Karma Kanda is a major section of the Vedas because people's desires are unlimited. So this section is a very big section among all the three sections. So many procedures. Therefore, you can see in India, particularly in the temples, so many procedures are there to fulfill one's material desires, to protect one's material status, material desires, to uh, to encourage one's material desires, to facilitate one's material desires. So many people go to temples. So Vyasadev's idea was, at least in that way they will come to the Lord and perform yajnas. So, but unfortunately, in the course of fulfilling their material desires, the materialistic person, instead of developing detachment, becomes overly entangled and overly attached. This is what actually happens. Vyasadev's intention was, slowly there will be gradual purification, but the reality is that they're becoming overly attached. That is when Narad Muni had to intervene, had to come and tell at one point to Vyasadev, my dear Vyasa, I know you're very intelligent, you're very learned, still, and your purpose is uh, ultimately transcendental to elevate the people to Krishna consciousness platform, but they will not take your indications of Krishna consciousness. They will only take the portion what they want. So they will in fact be encouraged. Oh, there is a license from the Vedas itself that we can enjoy sense gratification in a pious way, which is called Karma Kanda. So Karma Kanda way of enjoying is a pious way of enjoying. Of course, it is much better than enjoying in a sinful way without performing yajnas. Far better. But still, the tendency to enjoy will only be increased and will not reduce. The more you taste material enjoyment, deeper the attachment. So therefore, Vyasadeva said to Narad Muni, finally, that you better prepare, because Vyasadeva said, Narad Muni said to Vyasadeva, this indirect indication will not work. People are not very sharp in Kali Yuga. You directly describe Bhakti Yoga as the topmost Vedic yajna and Krishna consciousness as the topmost platform of spiritual life. And the purpose of human life is to become Krishna conscious. You directly indicate all these things and directly glorify Vishnu, Krishna. So that's how he prepared Srimad Bhagavatam. So coming back to this verse again, that is why in the Bhagavad Gita also, if you see, Krishna also describes uh, that in this Karma Kanda performance, they think, the performance of Karma Kanda think that the only purpose of Karma Kanda or all Vedic yajnas is simply sense enjoyment and promotion to heavenly planets and nothing else. You see? Nothing else. In text number 42-43 of chapter number 2, Yam imam pushpitam vacham prabadante vipaschitaha Vedavarata partha na anyat astiti vadinaha. Vadina refers to the uh, people who endorse Karmakanda views of the Vedic literatures. Vadina, what is their vada? What is their argument? They say that Veda Vada Rata Partha Na Anyat Astiti, but there is nothing higher than this. What is that? Kamatmana Swarga Para Janma Karma Phala Pradam Kriya Vishesha Bahulam Bhogeshwarya Gatim Prati. They think simply sense gratification and opulent life is the ultimate goal of life, and simply fulfill your desires Kama Atmanaha Swarga Para to attain heavenly planets is the highest perfection. And Janma Karma Phala Pradam, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. So these are the purposes of Vedic sacrifices, is what their argument is. Krishna describes them as avipaschitaha, being less intelligent. They don't understand the purpose of the Vedas. And they think this is the purpose of the Vedas. So that is why Krishna also declared Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nishtraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvanvos Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atmaman. These three Vedas deal, these Vedas, mainly the three Vedas, deal with material subject matter or three modes of material nature. Therefore, O Arjuna, give up this and become transcendental, free from dualities and anxieties for gain and safety, be established in the self. Prabhupada uh, has indicated this self S in a capital S. Be established in the self, referring to be established in Krishna. So that is the purpose of the Vedic sacrifices. So he said, therefore, give up the Vedic sacrifices, because in general, people's understanding of Vedic sacrifices, fulfillment of material desire, attainment of heavenly planets, attainment of good birth, power, material opulence, etc., which is not the purpose of the Veda. So that is why Narottam Das Thakur has straight away declared, instead of indirect indications as given by Vyasadeva, although Vyasadeva later on corrected it, Narottam Das Thakur, one of the Vaishnava Acharyas in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he directly says, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Kevala Vishera Bhanda. Says this Karma Kanda, this Jnana Kanda is simply pots of poison. So Karma Kanda is referring to, as we discussed, performing Vedic sacrifices to fulfill material desires. And by performing Vedic sacrifices, there is purification, because any sacrifice is meant to satisfy Vishnu. And when you satisfy Vishnu, you get the credit of purification. Purification means, as I said, enlightenment. Enlightenment means understanding spirit, spiritual life, spiritual knowledge. So gradually one will elevate to what is called as Jnana Kanda. Jnana Kanda, the purpose of Jnana Kanda is Brahma Darshana. Brahma Darshana means being able to understand who I am, what I am, what is my identity. Am I spirit? Am I matter? Do I belong to this world? What is my actual identity? That's called Brahma Darshana. So Jnana Kanda may lead you to Brahma Darshana, giving up material desires. But in the Jnana Kanda platform, you're giving up material desire because of frustration, because of not being able to enjoy the material senses fully, because of having an experience or realization of not being able to enjoy the material senses. Therefore, he is giving it up. But if there was a possibility of enjoying the material senses and material world, he is not interested in giving it up. But because he is frustrated from multiple attempts in enjoying, therefore he has given up hope. But if there is an opportunity for enjoyment, he is not interested in giving it up. So a Jnani apparently looks to be detached, appears to be detached, while actually not. Because deep in his heart, the desire to enjoy has not gone. He is not actually purified in the heart level, in the consciousness level. He has not developed the attitude of service as opposed to enjoyment. He has not developed the attitude of satisfying Vishnu. He is not developed that art of satisfying Vishnu. Forget developing the art. He is not developed the desire to satisfy Vishnu. He is not even understood that satisfying Vishnu is the ultimate purpose of the Vedas and is the constitutional position of the Jiva. He has not understood that. So in Jnanakanda platform, the Jnani has not understood his original identity. He may understand that he is Atma, but he does not know that he is part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, he is giving up sense gratification is actually called dry renunciation. Dry renunciation. In the Bhagavatam, the example is given in the 6th canto by Shukadeva Goswami. The position of a Jnani or one who is attached to Jnana Kanda Marga, his position is like this. Just like in a tree, once the leaves dry up, they all fall down. So they all gather below the tree, above the roots, above the soil. So you burn all the leaves. So it will all be burnt. Because the dry leaves, so you ignite fire, it will all be burnt to ashes. But you may even burn the tree above by igniting fire. The branches, the stem, the branches, the leaves, everything. So does it mean that the tree is finished? No. When the rain comes, again the tree will start growing. Why? Just now I burnt it. I ignited fire, burnt the whole, the dry leaves, the tree I have burnt. How did it grow? Because the roots are still beneath the soil. So even though the dry leaves are burned, the tree is burned, because the roots are there at an opportune moment, again the tree will grow. Similarly, even though superficially the Jnani has detached himself from sense gratification, but because the desire to enjoy is not given up, and the desire to satisfy Krishna's senses has not awakened deep within his heart, therefore, at an opportune moment, again he will indulge in sense gratification. Therefore, in the Bhagavatam it is described, Aruhya Krichrena Param Param Tataha Anaduta Yushma Dangrayaha. Because he has not taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, meaning he has not developed a desire to satisfy Krishna's senses, to satisfy the Lord. Therefore, even though he may touch the point of liberation, apparently he will fall down. Because if you have to situate yourself in the point of in the platform of liberation, you should not fall prey to material desires. You should not be attracted by material desires. But not to be attracted by material desire, you require an alternative called spiritual desires. You must be sufficiently saturated with spiritual desires as opposed to material desires, with spiritual enjoyment as opposed to material enjoyment. But because in the case of a jnani, he has neither developed spiritual desires nor taste for spiritual life, spiritual activities, nor he is interested in material affairs because of being frustrated at every attempt to enjoy. So his position is somewhere in between, hanging in air. So therefore, because he has no taste in spiritual life, he has not tasted devotional service. The only possibility is he has to come down to material platform once again. He will fall down to material activity. So that's what Shukadeva Goswami explains. Further, Shukadeva Goswami also says that these karma kandiyas, those who strictly practice karma kanda procedures, they can never become purified. They can never become purified. Even if they perform all karma kanda activities very nicely, they can never become purified. So he gives an example because their position is just like if there is a pot of liquor, you may try to wash that pot with any amount of water, but that liquor pot will never become purified. Similarly, those who practice karma kanda, they are compared to pots of poison. So any amount of purification will not purify one's heart. So that means any amount of karma kanda yajnas can never purify the jiva from his material inclinations. Desire for sense gratification will not come down. So that's what Shukadeva Goswami says. Unless there is a touch of devotional service. Otherwise, it is not possible. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says in the Bhagavatam, Dharmartha Kama Itiyo Bihidas Trivarga Ikshatrayi Nayadamo Vividacha Varta Manyetad Etadakilam Nigamasya Satyam Swatmarpanam Swasuhrada Paramasya Pumsaha. So Prahlad Maharaj says that this Dharma Artha Kama, this is supposed to be Abhihita Trivarga. As far as the materialistic persons are concerned, the karmis are concerned, they take this as a great blessing. Dharmartha Kama is a great celebration. Abhihita, Prabhupada translate it as celebration. For them, it's a great celebration. Dharmartha and Kama is a great celebration. It's a great advancement for them. That's what they take as advancement. So they take it as three means of attaining salvation. Then, in this Dharmartha Kama category, there are others. Iksha Trayi, Nayadamo Vibidacha Varta. So in this category, there is Iksha Trayi. Again, three categories. Knowledge of the self, knowledge of fruitive activities, then logic, then politics and economics, Varta, then different means of livelihood. So This is what the Vedic subject matter is. Hmm? Dharma, Artha, Kama. Then subject matter of fruitive activities. Then logic. Then economics, politics, how to earn money in a pious way. So these are the subject matters in the Veda. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says, all these I consider as material education and therefore temporary engagement. And therefore, I am not interested in them. Then he says, then what are you interested? What is your proposal? He says, Swa Atma Arpanam, surrendering oneself onto the Supreme Lord. Swa Suhruda is the greatest welfare activity for the Jiva. Paramasya Pumsaha, he says this is the ultimate occupation for the Jiva, surrendering one's very self to the Supreme Lord. And this I consider as the ultimate truth. Paramasya Pumsaha. So Prahlad Maharaj also says that this Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, these are simply external engagements of the Jiva and they are materialistic and not transcendental. Therefore, he rejects it. Therefore, he is recommending surrendering unto the Supreme Lord as the factual gain for the Jiva. Further, everywhere it is described in the Shastras, Karma Kanda is meant for less intelligent persons. And the result of Karma Kanda is not very great. What is the result of Karma Kanda? Yajnas. Krishna describes in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 21. Very famous verse. Tetvam bhuktva swargalokam vishanti, kshine punyamati lokam vishanti. Evam trayi dharmam anuprapanna gata gatam kama kama labante. So Krishna says that the result of this karma kanda is, karma kanda yajnas is, you simply return back to this material world. Although you may aspire heavenly planets, and you may even attain heavenly planets, possibly, but even after attaining heavenly planets, the disaster would be, the frustration would be, even if you don't attain a heavenly planet, one kind of frustration. A higher kind of frustration when you attain heavenly planets and again fall down to earthly planet. Just like a poor man is unhappy that he is not rich. But after becoming rich, if you become poor, it is a bigger downfall. A greater cause for pain and suffering. Again, all in the material platform. Nothing transcendental but all these experiences and happenings. But the conditioned soul is disturbed by all these things. Therefore, he becomes a jnani because of this frustration. Not truly that he has attained jnana about his constitutional position. So, he comes down to the earthly planet. And again, he tries once again, just like you see in this world also. How much people attempt to enjoy their senses, to become rich. They may again collapse. They may fall down from the richness, from their high social status. Again they will work. Again they will rise up. Again they may fall down. Again they will work. Again they'll rise up. So this cycle goes on. So Krishna calls it as Evam Trayi Dharmam Anuprapanna. Gata Gatam. Krishna uses the word Gata Gatam. Going up and coming down. Going up and coming down. So this cycle continues practically eternally. And the conditioned soul does not gain knowledge or realization or intelligence. Does not use his intelligence to see, every time this same cycle is happening. I'm going to the heavenly planet, again falling down to earthly planet. Why am I stuck up to this cycle of birth and death? There's no eternal, enjoyable position in this material world. He doesn't realize. So, Krishna says, therefore, they are less intelligent. All through the Shastra also, they are being described as less intelligent. So, that is why neither Karma Kanda nor Jnana Kanda can give eternal status to the Jiva, eternal happiness to the Jiva. Only by surrendering unto the Supreme Lord, worshipping the Supreme Lord, one can safely go back home without returning back to this world. And many places Krishna has described this point as opposed to the position of a karmi and a jnani. Karmi comes back to earth planet. Jnani, after liberation, comes back to the material world. But a bhakta, what is his position? That is described. Uh, uh, Mokshe Shyami Mashuchaha. Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita that if you take shelter of me, then you will be liberated to the spiritual world and will not return to this material world. Ma Shuchaha, do not fear Krishna. So Krishna promises your eternal liberated status. But even a jnani, there is no promise. Then, as one more place, Krishna, Name Bhakta Pranashiti. Krishna takes personal charge of protecting the devotees' spiritual security, status of uh, uh, security in the liberated platform. Krishna gives security. And even Acharyas have sung, Abhaya Charanara Bhajohre Mana Shinandanandra Abhaya Charanara. One can become fearless having been sheltered by Krishna. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, further he comments about this Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda in this way. He uses two terms called Ku-Vishaya and Su-Vishaya. So, Vishaya means sense object, and Su means very good, Ku means bad. So, Su-Vishaya, Ku-Vishaya. Su-Vishaya means sense gratification attained in a pious way. Ku-Vishaya means sense gratification obtained in a sinful way. In other words, a karmi and a vikarmi. Karmi means one who wants to enjoy his senses, but in a pious way. He wants to follow the Vedic procedures. Therefore, we see people come to temple, they offer pujas. They want to fulfill some material desire. They are called Suvishayas. But Kuvishayas are those who don't even come to temple. They think that they can enjoy their senses anyhow. They call vikarmis. Not karmis, they call vikarmis. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says both these categories are under Karma Kanda. And none of them will get delivered from material entanglement, nor they have any intention of becoming delivered from material entanglement. They want to remain in this material world. In fact, they don't desire liberation. So that is the position of karmis, ku-vishayis and su-vishayis. Then on the platform of Jnana Kanda, one may give up the objects of ku-vishaya and su-vishaya. But Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says that is also not perfection. Perfection is transcendental to both Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. It is devotional service, wherein the effects of repeated birth and death is not to be found. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj gives an example between Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda in Chaitanya Charitamrita, describes Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda like this. Is the difference between wet stool and dry stool. Stool is stool. So Chaitanya Charitamrita is even more. Uh, it explains in a much more deeper way. It compares Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda as nothing more than different forms of stool. That's all. Wet stool and dry stool. Stool is stool. There is nothing like what big difference is there between wet stool and dry stool? Both are stool. Stool is stool. So that's how Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda is. Whether it is pious activity or impious activity, it is binding the spirit soul to this world. And the spirit soul is bereft of the, not poison, bereft of the nectar of the taste of devotional service. So it is outright cheating. Therefore, as per the principles of bhakti, from the viewpoint of bhakti, the spirit soul is being cheated from his uh, eternal constitutional hankering of serving Krishna and being fully satisfied in serving Krishna and experiencing the nectar of devotional service. As opposed to that, he is being offered either a wet stool as an alternate dry stone. So, also, there are many other problems in Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. For example, in Karma Kanda, even a slight mistake, there is great risk. Karma Kanda procedures are very, very strict, and therefore, no mistakes are pardoned. Any mistake, there is severe reaction. There is a serious prayashchitta. The recommendation of Karma Kanda, if you see, the prayashchitta, for example, if one does a mistake, or even if one wants to purify or atone for one's sinful activities, the prayashchitta recommended is very severe and serious and very impractical. There are many examples in the Shastras in this regard. Very severe. There was one great devotee who once bowed down to his spiritual master, and his head was decorated with the dust of his spiritual master, because his spiritual master happened to come to the king's court, and immediately he came down from the throne and bowed down to the spiritual master and took his dust upon his head, and then went and sat down on the throne. Then they had a discussion. The spiritual master instructed him the principles of Krishna consciousness, whatever. Then, in the course of the spiritual master instructing this devotee, one mosquito somehow happened to uh, stand on his head. So he just wanted to push off that mosquito. And in the course of pushing off that mosquito, he dropped few grains of the dust of the lotus feet of the spiritual master upon the ground. Obviously, when you do like this, the dust will fall down. Because of the offense of removing the dust of the spiritual master's lotus feet upon the ground, he had to go to hell. And then this devotee approached the Brahmanas. So what is the prayashchitta? He didn't do it intentionally. See, this is not even Karma Kanda. But the recommendation for prayashchitta was from Karma Kanda. He was a devotee. Krishna Balaram Gaudiya. So the Brahmanas went through the Vedic literatures and then suggested a prayashchitta process. So they said, the detailed thing, I'll cut short the whole thing. They said, first of all, you have to make a copper plate, a big copper container, basically, copper container on a raised platform, and you have to heat it such that it is boiling, it is blazing hot, fumes are coming from the copper, that much heat, and mid noon, 12 noon, the king should enter this copper container barefoot and stand there day and night. Then he'll be free from the karma. This was the recommendation. Now, what will happen to him? Even if you enter from far away, you'll be burnt off from that heat. What is if you enter in the copper container? And this king actually enters the copper container. So dead body practically becomes burnt. Of course, because he is a devotee, coming back from Karma Kanda to Bhakti Kanda now, the Lord regains his life, revitalizes his body, and gives him a new body again. And by the Lord's mystical arrangement and power, suddenly that blazing, burning copper vessel becomes cooling, very cooling, as though you're in a freezer in a nice cold environment. But you can just understand, so what is the karma kanda? Any mistake happens, intentionally or unintentionally, it's very severe. So, is that very uh, good method? So, therefore, one should, that's why here in this purport, it is recommended, Prabhupada talks a lot. The recommended yajna for anything, either for developing pure love of Krishna with the highest purpose of the Veda, or even for fulfilling one's material desires, or fulfillment of one's spiritual desires, or you have no desires other than the desire to serve the Lord. Moksha Kama, whether you are a Moksha Kami or Sarvakami or Akami, whether you have no desires, or you want liberation, or you just want to serve Krishna, nothing else you should desire. Either case, Sankirtan Yajna is the best method, is the conclusion. It's very simple, very pure, and it's very practical, and it's recommended for Kali Yuga by the Lord. Therefore, one must, with all earnestness, take up Sankirtan Yajna directly and not attempt to go through Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda procedures. Is the conclusion. I'll stop here. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.